I've had all of these habits, literally all of these habits that I'm going to tell you don't do, I have done. So I thought I'd share with you the 7 that really have kind of stopped me growing, stopped my progress, made me unhappy, lost me money, cost me money. I'm going to share them with you because if you know these before you get into the positions I got into, you'll be a whole lot better off. I used to obsess about what my competition was doing, and I would literally see what they were doing and go, oh, well, we're not doing that. Maybe we should do that. Or they seem to be doing better than us. Oh, what's wrong with us? Comparison is the thief of joy. Absolutely true. But what I was doing is I was comparing my messy reality with their marketing exterior. I did not know that they were struggling financially, but their social media looked incredible. I did not know that that large contract they were losing money over, but I looked at their exterior and compared it to my messy interior world. And I have been doing what I've been doing for properly 15 years, but 25 years in business. I've made horrendous mistakes, don't get me wrong. But I have outlasted most of my competitors because I've not focused on what they're doing. I've focused on what I'm doing. Because when you start to look at what your competition's doing, you start to pick at all the things wrong with what you're doing, never see their issues, and it demoralizes you. But also it makes you start changing things because you think it might be working for them, so you should do it. So don't compare yourself to your competitors. You should be positioning yourself so you can't compare them, but it is a trap that you look at them and go, they must be doing better than me because it looks like they're doing better than me. No. We all know that social media doesn't work like that. There's a lot of people saying stuff, pretending to be successful, and they're actually not. So don't compare yourself because you could compare yourself with somebody who's actually comparing themselves to you. So just focus on what you're doing. I did this horrendously. Used to get frustrated and angry that I wasn't making as much progress. Meanwhile, some of those people were actually looking at me and going, how do I replicate what he's doing? And they've told me that since. So don't compare yourself. The second one I did was constantly looking at trends. Trends come and trends go. Content goes up, content goes down, but there are fundamental things that endure beyond trends. And so what I've done is I've set up my business to say, I am going to build my business on things that won't change. Humans don't change. Technology does, algorithms do, but human beings don't. They're instinctive creatures. We still react emotionally. All of that stuff is the same. So trends and secret tactics, and let me just say, by the time somebody's teaching you and selling a secret tactic to you, it's already stopped working. They're just monetizing something they've already benefited from and are getting the second round of revenue from it. So secret tactics, there are none. And the sooner you realize that fact, the more money you'll stop spending on courses. There are no secret tactics. Understand your customer, understand them deeply, and you don't need any tactics. Or at the very least, you can figure out your own tactics. When you understand your customer and what motivates them, trends and tactics don't matter. Now, this is something that's got worse with AI, but I used to do this a lot. I was looking for an answer. It's such a toxic trait, this, looking for an answer. There are many answers to the problems you face and the problems you will face in business. Lots of different ways to do it. There isn't one answer. Often it's about choosing. And I know that doesn't sound very strategic, but it is. It's about picking. If I've got 3-4 scenarios, I have to look and go, which one is the best in my situation, take a best guess and decide. But a lot of people, what they'll do is they'll keep looking for an answer, which basically means they make no decision and let things unfold. I cannot be responsible for everything that goes on in the world, but I can be responsible for choosing how I step forward, how I move forward. And often I would be looking for the answer. Somewhere out there was an answer, a holy grail that had to be found. No. There are choices. And sometimes we just have to decide. And I spent many, many years looking for answers when I should have been making decisions. And it was because I didn't have certainty. And, it's silly me saying this now, looking backwards. You never have certainty. You never know that anything is going to work. You just make educated best guesses based on what you think and what you've seen so far. So don't keep looking for answers when you should be making decisions. Now, this next one I've also been guilty of. And I want to tell you a story about, About 13, 14 years ago, I had the idea to launch what now is the Social Selling Accelerator. So it was literally 14 years ago. And I studied some early entrants into the market 14 years ago and looked at what they were doing, saw it as a huge opportunity and thought, I can do that. All we need to do is build out some basic infrastructure. And so I thought I committed to it. But in fact, I half-heartedly committed to it. The day I said, let's do this and invent the Social Selling Accelerator, I was very excited. I was ready to roll. And I spent hours on it that day. Then the next day, I went back to normal. And within about a week, I'd forgotten about even doing that because I didn't actually commit to it. Because when the rubber hit the road, I had all of these different things going on that were more real. And so what I did is I focused on dealing with what was in front of me rather than building what could have been in front of me. And so I was managing and not leading, and I didn't commit to my plan. Now, here's the pain in the ass for this. 6 years ago, I launched the Social Selling Accelerator. 6 years. It took me 8 years to do it. 8 years. And there's been a pattern in my life, and I'm telling you this because it's a human flaw, of me going round and round in circles going, we should do this, not fully committing to it, then coming back to it and say, we should do this, not fully committing to it, then coming back to it and going, we have to do this. And if I'd have fully gone all in on that idea 14 years ago, I would be probably 14 years ahead of where I am, or 6 years or 8 years or whatever it is. So if you've got big ideas and big plans, if you look at anybody who's made something new exist, they have to go all in on it. They have to commit to it and actually give it time and allocation of mental bandwidth, physical energy to birth something. If I'd have, and this is really important, when I started to build Maverick, obviously it wasn't a new business, it was a repositioning, but we niched down and we got rid of a lot of clients and put ourselves into a vulnerable position because I went all in this way. And that was part of the frustration. It was part of what was going on at the time. It forced me to go, I'm going this way. I had to lock in and almost go past a point of no return. And it sometimes feels like, and I see this sometimes with clients, and I have to say to them, if you do not fully commit to this process, even through the humps and the setbacks and the ups and downs, you will never get the other side of this where you feel the real benefit. It's like somebody saying, I want to be a CEO and I want to earn a 400 grand a year salary. Give me the job and the salary and then I'll learn how to be a good CEO. It's like, how can I have the benefits without the downsides? How can I have the win without the risk of loss? Half-hearted commitment is basically that. You want the outcome, but you're not prepared to do what's necessary to get there. And it's madness, really, because I see this quite a bit, because I'll sit down and have honest conversations with my clients and say, these next 6 months we're going to work together, you're going to have to focus. And you're going to have to avoid getting distracted by shiny objects, because the other side of this 6-month project, this will be the best decision you ever make. But if you do not focus, this will be the worst decision you make, because you will be no further on. Because you will half-heartedly commit. You're committing to the outcome, but not committing to the course, which means you stay on the shore. So that was a big one for me, still is, and I have to fight myself sometimes. I've just put something off. I'll just share with you. I've just put something I'm planning to launch off, and I don't want to, but I'm doing it for pragmatic reasons, and I know I have to do that thing. And so in the next 6 months, I'm going to do it again, but I'm taking a choice to postpone something. I'm not letting it just fizzle out and get distracted by something else. So I'm moving something, and I'm conscious that the only thing that separates strategically moving something from strategically moving something rather than just putting something off or not committing to something is just the willpower. Will I actually come back to it in 6 months, or will I not? And I'm starting to be more honest with myself and going, yeah, I'm going to have to do that, because I'm not in the place ready to do that right now. So, but what I'm going to do is get myself into the place to be able to do that in the next 6 months. So that half-hearted commitment, it sometimes can show us strategy, but actually it depends where it's coming from. Is it coming from the point of view of fear of failure? Is it coming from shiny object syndrome? If you're putting something off strategically, you should be able to know why you're doing it. If you're putting it off because it feels hard, that's the wrong choice. Now, this one I still to some degree struggle with. When you get in a place where you won't move unless it hurts. You won't move unless it hurts. And I see this a lot. I've been in this place where actually I know I have to do something differently. I know things have to change, but the pain of changing it, I put off or I avoid. And often that leads to more pain, more difficult decisions, more frustration. And I can remember, during the COVID period, obviously lots of people, social selling really came into its own because of remote working, not being able to reach people on the phone, all of that stuff. So during COVID was a real boom. Wasn't at first, didn't feel like it at first, but it was a real boom. And at the company, we swelled to about 50 people across the US and the UK. So our payroll bill was heavy. Our costs were heavy. But also the business was quite difficult to manage. Because we'd grown so quickly, we didn't have the infrastructure to manage a business of that number of people. I was stressed. I felt like I wasn't going in the right direction. It wasn't getting a better business. I was working longer and not enjoying what I was doing. I ended up getting involved in minutiae that shouldn't involve me. And I knew that had to change. But for quite a while, I was avoiding it because I know how unsettling it would be, how difficult it would be, how much, headbutting and conflict it would create, and I put it off. And there was a couple of issues that happened that were totally avoidable because it was hard to manage, happened, and it was quite stressful, and I went, I'm done. I am done doing it this way. We are stopping this. And we were very unproductive. Despite having all these people, we were very unproductive. And so there was a few months where we were like, we're losing money here. And that hurt. And I had to arrange how we cover that, because we don't like taking on lots and lots of debt or anything like that. So we covered it. It cost me personally to cover it. And I was like, I'm done. we're changing this. And we slimmed the company down over 12 months to 29 people, right? I felt horrible. And to some people, I probably deserve to feel horrible because a lot of people lost their jobs. Whenever you as a business owner fire somebody, it doesn't matter what the reasons were, you're not a good person. It's just how the world sees you, right? Because it's not nice. Thankfully, we didn't have too many fallouts over it. There's a few grumpy people, but it was the best decision for me, and it was the best decision for the business. Because if it kept going like that, I would have probably just walked away because I was getting so stressed out. And it just wasn't working for me, my family, all of that kind of stuff. So if you get into a place where you won't take action until it hurts, it's probably going to hurt more. That's true for me. That's what happened for me. So if you wait till it hurts, even when you know you should be making decisions, it's going to really hurt. And so now I look for how do we deal with this early so that we're not waiting to see what happens and seeing it all, get worse. Now, this one I haven't mastered yet. This one, number 6, out of my toxic habits that you should avoid. Deluding yourself you're busy. Deluding yourself you're productive when you're not, you're just busy. And I'll give you an example. I am a sucker for updating my LinkedIn profile. Absolute sucker for updating my LinkedIn profile. I can have an agenda and a list of tasks on my thing, and I will slip into Canva, and it happens very gradual. I'm building an article. I've got to get an article out, put the article out, don't like the header, something doesn't work, and I start tinkering with colors and fonts. And then because I do it on the article, I then do it on my profile. Now, you might think that's totally ridiculous, but we all do this in some way. We will actually avoid doing heavy work and go down a rabbit hole doing stuff that feels good and feels enjoyable, but actually has no measurable impact on the business. Nobody's going to notice that one word on my profile that's highlighted in a kind of off pink like this t-shirt, nobody's going to notice that that's a slightly different color. As a graphic designer background, that's where I started early on. I would print and design. That gnaws at me personally, but has zero impact on my business. Meanwhile, the landing page that I want to put out, the testimonials that I want to put out, the email I want to send to my email list does have an impact on my business. So I fight with this all the time because I'm human and we make mistakes, and I've got ADHD and autism at the same time, that I will go down a rabbit hole and I have to go, Dean, what is the most important thing that you can do for your business right now? Is it really tinkering with your banner on LinkedIn on Canva? No. So when you start to do your work, look for what's the one thing on my list right now that will add the most impact to my business. Because if I do that one now, bang, all the other things I can do whenever. So I am really passionate about this, even though I struggle with it myself, that if you delude yourself you're being productive, you'll start doing the easy work that has zero impact rather than the stuff that will actually make you money and build you a better business. The shade of pink on my LinkedIn banner is not going to help me build a better business. So don't delude yourself you're being productive when you're actually just keeping yourself busy or doing fun work. Always the case, and I can blow hours and hours. I joked recently with Dave that I spent 7 hours on Canva one Saturday, and I had a list as long as my arm. Now, I can blame the fact that the ADHD and the autism, sure I can do it, but I could have stopped myself from doing it too. So there's an element of I have to take responsibility for my time. I have to understand I've got these flaws and these things that make me unproductive, but I have to go, well, okay, I've got to find a way to operate within that. I've got to find a way of working that works. So if you do this, what you will do is you'll end up making things that feel good, but actually add nothing to your business. Focus on the things that will actually build something for you in your business. And then this final one, in the early stages of launching my business, which is now Maverick, we rebranded in 2018 to Maverick. But before that, we were running a marketing agency and we did lots of different work. And I liked the idea of it, but it was very difficult to run because there was lots of projects going on. And what I found was I got into a cycle of actually just solving the issues that were in front of me. And so I was trying to treat the issues I had in front of me. So if a client project didn't work out as planned, I'd dive in and try and fix it. If a client was unhappy with something, I'd dive in and try and fix it. And so I was like just all over everywhere, fixing things, spinning plates and all that kind of stuff. And I should have, with hindsight, stopped and gone, why do these similar issues keep coming up? Why does this pattern keep happening? How do I get it so that these problems, one, don't happen, but also that I'm not needed to solve these problems? And what I was doing was I was treating the manifestation of other problems, significant problems, comms problems, training problems, leadership problems. I was treating the knock-on effects of those problems rather than going, how do I stop this at the root cause? How do I stop it? Just because what I was doing is I was solving the problems as they come up, but actually the root cause problems that were there were not being addressed. So it's just creating more of them. And so I realized the more we scaled, the more these problems would happen. They just keep coming, more of them, more of them. We were creating them because our infrastructure, the way we'd set up the business, was not built for the long term. So we weren't building something that was sustainable. And so until I addressed those issues and changed those issues, actually they'd keep repeating. And this is a common thing, not just in problems, but in growth generally, that people think only a couple of steps in front of them, like the next week, the next couple of days, the next month, when actually what you need to do is start thinking 6 months out, 12 months out, where do I want to be? What do we need in place to make that happen? James Clear book, it's a good book, Atomic Habits, makes this really kind of obvious of you fall to the level of your systems. Systems are what make businesses sustainable. And so if you want to get somewhere in a year's time, you need a system to get there, things that happen to get there. And if you don't know what those systems are, you're just having a go, or you're just dealing with what comes at you. You've got to set a positive place of where you want to get to and then build systems that get you there. My mistake for many, many years was actually going, if I just get all this work done, eventually we'll get to a point where I won't have to do this. And I know that sounds stupid, but I actually thought it would all come together. No, I didn't think it. I knew exactly what I needed to do, but because I was operating in short-term mindset mode, I was basically just going through the motions of dealing with what came at me. So I wasn't in control. I was a hostage to fortune. I was at the mercy of events rather than going, I'm going to control events, which is very similar to that whole getting to a place where you won't move it unless it hurts. Very similar about going, this is where we're going. These are the systems I'm building. That's what I do with my clients now. A lot of my clients have come to me and they've said, I bought all the courses, I've tried all the tactics, still not working. And I go, okay, now it's time for systems. Systems aren't sexy, but the outcome of systems really are, because it's peace of mind, it's security, it's stability. All of that stuff comes from systems. And a lot of people make this mistake of just operating day to day week to week, month to month, rather than thinking 3 months out, 6 months out, 12 months out, and doing the groundwork to get there. Love James Clear's book, Atomic Habits, because you rise or fall to the level of your systems. So they're the toxic habits that I really see holding businesses back. Comparing yourself to your competitors, chasing trends and looking for the secrets, getting confused between making decisions, choosing and looking for the answer, half-hearted commitment to projects. You like the outcome, but maybe aren't as committed to the work. Getting into a place where you'll only move if it hurts, because that means you end up stuck and it ends up more painful in the long run. Then getting sucked into unproductive or useless tasks that make any difference, but they feel good, and not thinking and building systems for the long term. Thanks for listening and watching this week. If you like this podcast, please share it on your socials. If you've got a question about how to build your business, how to grow, maybe you're getting a lot of business from word of mouth, referrals, and you don't know how to start with social selling, drop me a DM on any channel. Tell me what you're struggling with. I'll put together an episode to share it with you, because I want to help you grow. I want to help you get clients, because that's what I do.